Hey everybody, welcome back. This is, I guess August. It is August. August newsletter. Mr. Brown, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, man?
Doing good. Didn't get much rest this weekend, but hey, it was a weekend, I guess. What about you?
I guess I got plenty of rest. I can't
Oh,
complain.
hey,
It's been going good on my end, man. So things have been well.
good deal, good deal. Well, how have things been in July? Kind of backtracking. So let's start with discussing Trek first. What went on in discussing Trekland in July?
Oh man, what did go on? I can't even remember. We had an episode on Succession number 3, which is from the IDW Publishing line of Star Trek Discovery comic books.
Nice
As
cover.
what's that?
It had a nice cover.
Yes, it had a good cover. That might be the entirety of that because the comic itself was not that great, but they're hit or miss sometimes. Sometimes they're pretty good, and sometimes they're just kind of lackluster. But as we talked about in the review itself, I see the interest kind of waning the more they move away from the show proper. So that was interesting. We talked about as well in that episode. We talked about some of the things that happened at San Diego Comic-Con as well that was Star Trek Discovery related. So, a lot of good stuff on the Star Trek Discovery end. And plus we have this week actually going on right now is the Las Vegas Star Trek convention that's going on. So there are some tidbits that came out of that as well. I don't know if you've heard already, but I'm sure we're going to talk about it tomorrow.
Oh, I
On
have
the
a
recording.
feeling that we will engage in that
Go
conversation
with the party.
tomorrow. So what now?
I knew you were going to do it. I knew you were going to do it.
What? Oh, go with the corny. Of course, I'm going to go with the corny.
Oh, God.
I can't help it. But yeah, I did absolutely see that, and I was psyched about that. I mean, we're not going to mention it for anybody who may not have seen it yet, but I don't know when this is going out. But anyway, Engage #1. So woohoo! I'm happy.
Yeah, cool beans, man. Cool beans. Other than that, I'm trying to remember that this happened last month or when did we actually do the review of I did a review of the book, Desperate Hours from Star Trek Discovery, the first novel. That may have been last. Yeah, that was last. That was in
That was
July.
last month.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so if you're interested in that book, you can also check that out by going to discussingtrek.com to get both that review and the review of the book as well. So yeah.
Cool, 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 cool. Well, we also, in switching over to discussing Who, we went through all the way through to Love and Monsters. We did Idiot's Lantern. I believe we did the two-parter Satan Pit and, the Impossible Planet. So that was kind of cool. And we also did a 2005 through present that was interesting to record. That was the episode where you had just come back from New Orleans and Lee and I were in different cities, right?
Yeah, I
I think.
believe so. Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
that was good to kind of recap of what we talked about so far in our kind of going back from 2005 and reviewing forward. It's also talking about some of the difference between classic and current Who. So that was a fun discussion.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And we also, switching over to discussing comics, we came off of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then we went directly into, you and I did a review of the, oh wow, my brain just totally spazzed. We did Luke Cage, season 1, 2.
Yes, Luke Cage. Yeah, that was fun as
2.
well.
So I want to say something that we did on our YouTube channel, the Discussing Network YouTube channel. We talked about Aquaman.
Yes, we talked about the trailer.
Yes, the cool trailer, the actual made the aquatic telepathy look cool trailer.
Yeah, it looked quite awesome, man. That looks like a very expensive movie to make because it's a lot of CG. At least from the trailer, it seemed like a lot of CG in it.
So we may have talked about this before, but if not, I want to ask you a quick question. Do you think they used the same technology that they showed him in Justice League for this movie, or is it better, or it just looked better?
I think we talked about it, but I think it does look better, obviously. Maybe, I think I mentioned this in review too. Maybe since they're focusing on that for the majority of this film, they could put more work into it and kind of dedicate a little bit more to that versus, we need this for 10 minutes of the Justice League movie, So maybe since it's the primary focus, they were able to put a little more oomph into it. And especially what we've seen from the trailer, it looks like it looks pretty fantastic. So I can't wait for that.
Just to play on words here, for honorable mention, the Fantastic Four, since this is August, comes back next week on the shelves for the first time in 4 years. So, yes, happy.
Cool beans.
So, anything else you have for our newsletter recap?
Oh, man. Wow, we kind of went through it quick.
Yeah, we did. Because I have two things I want to talk about, but I'm curious because...
Well, let's just talk about stuff that's upcoming. I'll talk upcoming for Star Trek, discussing Trek. We'll maybe talk a little bit about, as I mentioned up top, some of the Las Vegas convention news that came out this past week and this weekend. And we'll also be going into Enterprise Broken Bow episode 1 and 2 and reviewing that. So that kind of will conclude our premiere / pilot / first episodes of Star Trek. And unless we do the animated series, I don't know if we want to do that because I don't think I've seen an animated series.
I haven't either.
Episode.
But you know what? I you know how Netflix will tell you, you're suggested? That's the first time I think I've ever seen it be suggested for me, maybe because I had searched for Enterprise earlier.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen part of some episodes, but I've never just sat down and watched the entirety of an animated series episode. So we might do some of that and kind of round out what we've been reviewing as far as first, and maybe even when the next comic comes out. I think I've already downloaded and shared it with everybody. Maybe we can we'll review that this month too. So that's what we have in August for discussing Trek. What about you in the world of or us in the world of discussing who / discussing comics?
All right, so for discussing Who, we are coming up on the series finale of series 2, the 2006 series. So we will get to say goodbye to Rose Tyler. So that's going to be interesting to watch now, watching it all the way through. So we've got 2 more episodes or 2 or 3, but I think 3. Yeah. We've got Fear Her coming up. Have you watched it yet?
No, I have not.
Neither have I.
I'll just mention, like, you and Lee, our co-host Lee Shackelford, you're always talking about things that happen in the future, and I never, unless it's like fairly recent, I never remember any of it. I'm just like, okay, I'll play along for a minute.
Oops! Spoilers.
In 2 episodes, this is going to happen. I'm like, okay, cool. I kind of remember that. I'll play along with the guys.
Spoilers. Rose.
I mean, it's not. I've seen it. It's not a spoiler, but it's just like, I've only seen the episode once, and I vaguely remember it, and I'm anticipating watching it again. But you guys obviously have seen them several times and remember every inkling part of it. And so I'm left to be like,
okay, all right. So see, we've got to remember this because I don't want to spoil anything for you.
It's not a spoiler though, because I've seen it, so it's not a spoiler. But it's just like I feel like I'm out of. Well, let me say, I feel like I'm out of place in a little bit because you guys remember everything, and again, I've only seen it exactly one time. And I remember some of it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I vaguely remember that. Well, you guys were railing on about how great the episode was. Like, yeah, I remember Blink. I thought it was very good. Yeah.
The only reason I say that you said that it was good is because you said it was good.
It was no. I totally. I do say Blink was good. I do remember most of the episode. I don't remember details like you guys. You guys were fighting over whether the medium used was a freaking DVD or VHS. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, to make you. To make you feel better, I forgot Jackie Tyler was in Love and Monsters. So
I don't see how you could. She was a freaking star in that episode, man.
It's because I haven't seen that since 2009. Seriously.
Shame on you. But you saw it for the review, though.
Right, but that's whenever I figured out that she was in it.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, so yeah, we've got that coming up, and we've got The Runaway Bride, which also either this month or next month we will be doing our speculation episode, just like we did for Speculation Series 10. So get your future brain starting to process, because now's the time to think what's going to be our top whatever 10 or 15 things we think might happen.
Wow, we hadn't done that already.
No, we haven't.
So much hype around the next season. Seems like we've talked about that, but
we kind of have, but we haven't made our like official predictions.
Well, maybe we've done it as a panel so much that it seems like
we have. Yeah. Indeed, we have. And speaking of, we will be going up to Columbus for discussing Network, I suppose, to the Golden Triangle Comic-Con. So it'll be nice to see the people up in Columbus, Mississippi. So that'll be cool.
Indeed.
And discussing comics, we're going to get some episodes out this month. That'll be cool.
Is anything big happening in the world of comics besides the Fantastic Four thing you mentioned up top?
I'm one step closer. This is the big world of Kyle Comics. I'm one step closer to digital.
Okay.
So, kind of a cool segue here. As part of that, you've heard me talk about being jaded with comics a little bit recently, kind of like not really enthused about them maybe as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've heard you mention that. Yeah.
So I think I know why. I've been reading some indie comics, and maybe there are only so many stories of Wonder Woman, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Justice League, Superman, Batman before you start getting like jaded to them. Maybe.
Okay, I can understand this argument if you've been just started reading and you're like 5 years in or something, or maybe 10 years in.
Okay, so I'm 40 years
You've been reading comic books for like 30 some odd plus years, and now you're getting perked out.
Maybe.
I believe you, so I'm just take you for your word, sir.
So one thing that I have that I don't think I've told you this yet, I have been reading the black and white first volume of The Walking Dead.
Oh, cool.
The comic version.
Wow, that's hardcore.
Yeah, and I think the last time we actually talked about The Walking Dead on anything video, I had gotten to season 4, maybe.
Yes.
I am almost halfway through season 6.
So here's my thing. You mentioned reading the I forgot the writer, but
Robert Kirkman.
Yeah, Kirkman, the Kirkman graphic novels. I'm kind of from the point of view where once I've experienced something in one medium, I'm not too inclined to go experience the exact same thing in another medium. Now, of course, I know that the stories are a bit different than they are in a television show, as you know, as with Game of Thrones. But I think maybe in Walking Dead's case, maybe it's diverged a lot more than what has diverged in like the Game of Thrones novels. But I don't know. There's different takes on it. Usually though, when I've seen it on TV or read the book first, it's kind of hard to go to the other medium. Maybe going forward from a book to a movie is easier than going from a visual platform back to the reading. I don't know. Is it
okay? So here's my purpose of reading this, and I'm only going to read it to a certain point. I'm reading it to meet those people I know.
Okay.
And once I meet a core set of people I want to meet, I'm through. But I just want to see how they were visually represented and to see just what they look like in that. And once I do that, I'll be finished.
Okay. That makes sense.
So that's what I want to see. Carol, I want to see Michonne. Once I get to Michonne, once I see her, then I'm done.
But then you're going to get to that point where, oh, this guy dies in a book way sooner than he does in the show. Crap.
Yeah, but that won't mean anything to me because he hadn't died in the show yet.
Okay. All right.
So speaking of the show, I don't want to give any spoilers, but in the last couple of episodes, I have had mental breakdowns over this one freaking character, like every other couple of episodes. And I know when it actually does happen for this one particular character, my brain is going to like melt. I have a feeling because I've heard that this is one of the worst deaths. I won't say the character's name, but I've heard that this character's death is one of the worst in the show's history.
If it's a character I'm thinking about, yeah, probably so.
Okay, because I've seen this character come back, be thought was dead, come back, and then almost die, and then think, and I'm knowing that this character will eventually die if it's what I think it is. So anyway,
wait, how do you know that unless you've read ahead? Or
I haven't read ahead, but someone at works had already. I'd heard this person talk about
okay,
this person dying.
That happens.
So, yeah. Yep. So anyway, that's what's been going on with me. So anything else? Oh, one other thing that I wanted to mention. You mentioned our co-host Lee Shackelford. You and he finished up with Relativity season 3. So congratulations.
Yes, that's awesome. Glad for it to, I said this before, but my role in the whole thing was very minor. Lee having to do all that he did for that serial, especially season 3, where there's so many other voices in it than the previous seasons. Previous seasons, only 2 people for the most part. And him having to juggle all these different voices and the normal production, sound effects. And of course, he wrote the story too. So it just kudos to him for being able to wrangle all this bigger cast of characters to making something that's really special. I've listened several times now.
Yeah. And I have to say, he also created, no offense to your character, but he created someone who turned out to be my favorite character, who was the ship's AI, who was totally freaking awesome.
Yes, agreed. Sassy.
And so yeah, that's really kind of what's been going on with me, and I think we're going to have an interesting, busy August.
Hopefully not too busy. What we're a few days in now. Hopefully not too busy, but yeah. Up for the rest of the year, there's not too much left. I guess we have the Gulf Coast Fan Fest.
Gulf Coast Fan Fest. There's if we decide to go to that, we hadn't talked about that, but there's the one in Memphis that we went to last year.
Okay.
The fantasy thing we might want to look at, but hey, who knows, as the doctor says.
Cool.
All right, cool. Well, for anyone listening, thank you for listening. This is our monthly newsletter, and we'll be back before then, but next month. Woohoo.
All right, guys.